Have you experienced anger from your loved one who you're caring for who has dementia? What if I told you that that anger isn't really anger at all? What if I told you that there's actually 5 hidden triggers for this anger? In this video, I'm going to show you and help you to understand how to make sure that you say the right thing and you do the right thing to make sure that you're meeting the needs of your loved one. Hi, my name is Vitaly. Welcome to our channel, and I'm so glad you are here. So today, I wanted just to take a couple of seconds and just to reassure you as a caregiver. So if you care for someone who's been diagnosed with dementia, my heart truly goes out to you. The care that you're providing is not always going to feel rewarding to you. You're going to have some hard days, and it can feel very overwhelming. And then, of course, there is the added element of the emotional response, right? It could feel very personal because this is your close loved one. Maybe it's your spouse. Maybe it's your mom or your dad. And so anger especially is challenging because it feels very personal. It hurts, right? So if you've been yelled at or accused or pushed away, please know that it's not personal. They're not yelling at you. It is the disease, right? And I will repeat that more than once in this video. It is the disease. So their brain is overwhelmed, and this is sort of what comes out. Think disease symptoms, not emotional response, right? And even in general, I think like men tend to have like some of the anger that we have, even not dementia related, sometimes is in some of that space where something's overwhelming, something's not sure, I don't know how to respond. Anger is a safe way to respond because it seems to protect the individual. So that is something that stays with people. So anyway, when anger shows up, most caregivers will ask, how do I stop this behavior, right? How do I get this to go away? Or maybe, what did I do wrong? Did I do something wrong? And then the better question here is not what did I do wrong or why, how do I stop this or why are they doing this? But really, what need isn't being met, okay? So here are the 5 hidden triggers behind most dementia anger. So number 1, it's fear. So what's happening or why is it happening? Well, something is happening that they don't understand. It feels unsafe. They feel startled. They feel confused, right? So those are the fear. Something is so think about, the idea of being startled, right? So that you get this jolt of adrenaline that hits your body, right? Even when you have your full faculties, it could be like, whoa, that was whew, and you may feel this maybe anger kind of well up inside you, and that fear, you're not really sure what to do with that. Well, with dementia, of course, there's a whole nother level added to that with the confusion and the brain not being able to really put things together and figure out what's really happening. So what you would say in that situation is, you're safe. I'm right here, right? Reassuring tone. You lower your voice, you slow your movements, you make gentle eye contact, and you smile, right? Your face and your facial expressions go a long way in helping that person feel okay, right? Remember, it's less verbal, it's more body language. So the body language is way more important, and the tone of your voice is way, way more important than actual things that you're saying. So number 1 is fear. Number 2 is loss of control. So they're feeling rushed, or they're feeling bossed around or told what to do. Their independence feels like it's slipping away. And again, remember, this is not a conscious thing. They're not going to be like, well, I don't like how you said that to me. I don't like that you were bossing me around. It is subconscious. It's what we feel, right? We tend to have reactions to people even when we have our full faculties where that is what it is. We don't like their tone that they use with us. Somebody talks to us in a way that we feel like they're demeaning to us. Well, with dementia, the words become less important, but the tone is still there, and the tone is what sets them off with that. So that feeling of loss of control. So what you could say is, would you like to do this now or in a few minutes, right? So if you have this reaction and they were feeling rushed with something that you were doing, you can kind of pause and back off and say, do you maybe want to do this later, right? You could also offer two simple choices. And the two simple choices method is something as simple as saying, would you like to have soup or a sandwich, right? Which in either case, I mean, make sure you obviously have those options to give them, but you're restoring autonomy when you're allowing them to decide something small that ultimately doesn't matter. So instead of having an argument or an angry outburst about eating lunch, or I don't want anything, I'm not hungry, instead of asking that question, you could offer a simple choice of two, maybe soup and a sandwich, and allowing them to pick one of those two choices that you're going to be okay with either way. So bringing back the autonomy, letting them have a role in, and again, keep in mind, this isn't a complex equation for their brain to figure out. This is a super simple choice for them to say yes or no, right? So number 2 is loss of control. Number 3 is overstimulation. Too much noise, too much movement. I always bring up the idea of holidays and having your loved one with dementia among, the big family gathering. Sounds like it's a really good idea. It's a great way to connect and, maybe have grandma there, get to see all the stuff. Keep in mind that setting is probably way overwhelming with this issue, right? Because there's too much noise, there's too much running around, the wonderful things that is family and kids and laughter and loud noises. With dementia, it's too much information, the brain can't handle it, and so it causes sort of a shutdown, or somebody, kind of get agitated or get angry from that. So what can you say? Well, you could say, we can go somewhere quieter, right? And maybe lead them to a room that is much more, where the noise is over there, and this person can just have downtime somewhere over here. Maybe you turn off the TV, you reduce the clutter, move to a calmer space, right? In general, clutter being removed. So if you're talking about a table space or where you're at, less clutter, the more calming that space will be for that person. But TV or noises or music going on, lots of those kinds of things can add to that. So that was number 3. Number 3 is overstimulation. Number 4 is pain or physical discomfort. So the challenge with dementia is that all of us can tell our significant other, our loved one, and say, man, I've got a massive headache this morning. I don't know what. I need to take something because my head is pounding, right? Now, with dementia, that person is probably not going to be able to verbalize that to you. How will you know? You might get the angry outburst. You might get some agitation. They might just be on edge, and you might be going, what is going on, right? So you might have to probe a little bit. So they may be hungry, they might be tired, constipated, sore, have a UTI, right? So UTI is one of those things that it's a urinary tract infection. And actually, it's interesting because people who don't have dementia with a UTI can actually start acting like they have dementia, and they can have kind of this kind of temporary onset where they're a little goofy, they're not themselves. And so it wouldn't get diagnosed as dementia, but that would be potential trigger to go see the doctor because mom is just not quite right. She's saying things that don't make sense, and it's kind of a sudden thing. That's a big indicator that could be a UTI. But obviously somebody with dementia could also get a UTI. And so you're kind of layering there, and you want to make sure that you're trying to understand that there's potentially things behind the scenes. So they can't explain it clearly. In fact, they may not even be able to identify it. So they might have back pain, and they can't tell you that because they can't really express, because their body signaling to their brain and to be able to go, what is going on with me? Why do I feel? That's dementia for you. Dementia is all that confusion about all those different signals that the nervous system is sending that they're not able to really fully identify. So what you could say is, you seem uncomfortable. Let's take a break. Let's pause. You could offer water, right? Maybe they're thirsty. You could offer them a snack or something to eat. Maybe they actually need to go to the bathroom. So maybe they are fidgety and they feel the urge to go, but they can't quite identify it. So maybe you could say, maybe you need to use the restroom. Can I help you go to the bathroom? And you could actually point in the direction of a bathroom. So those are kind of clues there. Maybe it's clothing, maybe something's too tight, temperature in the room, the seating, all sorts of things. So your job as a caregiver is to sort of assess that overall scenario and see, is there something here that's going on that's potentially causing this person discomfort, and they can't describe the discomfort, so that is coming out as anger. So number 5 is fatigue, and with fatigue, it's obviously you could have physical fatigue. The body is just tired, they need to rest. But a lot of times, our mind can be fatigued too. Even, again, any one of us could have a day where you're just like, man, I'm just so spent. And it doesn't always mean physical sense. Sometimes it means like I'm just mentally spent. I don't have much processing power left up here, right? And so the brain kind of runs out of coping energy, and then even small tasks can become overwhelming. And so keep that in mind. So what you could say is, you know what, we don't have to do this right now. Or you can just say, it's okay. You're okay, right? Tone of voice, your facial expression, your reassurance, maybe even a hug, right, go a long way to just bring that down. The overwhelm is too much and you just want to bring it back, okay? And so you could just pause whatever you were doing, whatever you were working on. So a lot of times it can be something, maybe you're doing a task, and some of you, I'm not in that group, but some of you you have to have it all done before you can feel okay. But it's okay to stop and say, you know what, we'll finish this tomorrow, or we'll finish this later, because you see this person's been overwhelmed with just too much of that, right? So you could just sit together. Obviously, it's always good to know your person. This is why you're talking about family caregivers. This is much easier in many ways because you know what motivates them. You know what they like. It could be a photo album that you pull out and you go through and you look at, and that could be the pause and like redirect to this. It could be, it could be a video, maybe even a home video of something in the past, memories that they'll have. That's why photos work well for that. Or it could be just a simple little puzzle or just a fidget, something that they can have in their hand and just feels comforting somehow. Those are the different things that when you know your person, you know what calms them, and you can over time learn what agitates them. And some things they'll handle for a while and they'll be okay, but when it gets to be too much, then they're agitated because potentially of this issue of fatigue. So shift to something calming. And then just want to, as I finish with this, with these 5 triggers. So the 5 triggers, just to kind of cover them again, are number 1, fear. Number 2 is loss of control. Number 3, overstimulation. Number 4, pain or physical discomfort that's going on. Number 5 is fatigue. And then kind of a simple reset formula for you, right? So think about this. When that anger shows up, just pause. Just pause and don't push to get something done. Bath is an example. Like, well, we always do a bath on Wednesday. We got to do this. No, you don't. You could do it on Thursday. You could do it on Friday. You could always do this stuff next day instead of pushing until that anger kind of boils over, right? And then ask yourself as you pause, like, which of the 5 triggers might be happening, like, because as a caregiver, like when you have that familiar connection, when this is your spouse, for example, like it's difficult to transition into that caregiver mode to where you're like, okay, I'm in care mode, what is this, right? We tend to respond emotionally because like, well, I feel hurt because he got angry and he kind of blew up at me or whatever. So you have to step out of that and learn to read the signs as a caregiver would and go, okay, I'm going to back off and we're going to refocus this. And then use calming phrases like, it's okay, you are safe. Smile, hug, physical touch is a very powerful thing in the right context, right? So putting a hand on their hand and just holding their hand and calmly telling them that it's okay. Those are the things. Keep in mind, you're not trying to win, right? You're not trying to get your way that shower should be today on Wednesday instead of the next day. You are trying to meet their need and you are trying to meet them at their level. So in closing, dementia anger isn't defiance. Know that, right? It's a communication. That's the way it comes out, and you need to understand that. And so when you learn to decode it, everything will change because you'll see it differently. So you'll learn to manage, and then you can foresee the potential for the triggers that will, cause the person to kind of erupt in anger, and you can get ahead of it as a caregiver, right? So you can learn, how do I set the environment in such a way, and how do I interact with my loved one? What words do I use? What expressions? What emotional connection? How do I manage that so we don't get there? And how do I read their body language so that I know that they're starting to get overwhelmed? I can tell that they're they're kind of getting fidgety or they're getting antsy, something's happening. They're maybe needing something, and I need to kind of get ahead of that. So you can learn to manage the whole environment and your approach for success, right? And remember, this is not personal. This is a symptom or symptoms of the disease. So anger is that symptom. It may be triggered by different things, but it's a symptom. And you need to remember that. And you need to, for your own emotional health and stability, you need to understand that this is not personal against you. But you also need to understand that you probably need to set some boundaries for yourself in terms of how much time you can devote and do this and still be healthy and to continue. So anyway, if you're caring for somebody with dementia, I hope this video helped you. I hope you are able to identify some of these things and you find it helpful. I would love to get comments about your journey and how you're doing with it and what actual phrases or maybe techniques that you've used that you found very helpful. Please leave those in the comments and share that information. Please share this video with someone that you know is caring for a loved one with dementia and you think this information may be helpful to them. And as always, comment, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.